Hi, I'm Jeanne Wisniewski and I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner. Today we're going to talk about lifestyle choices we can make that help us lower our risk for breast cancer. So in the last couple weeks we talked about nutrition and we talked about exercise. And so today we're going to look at the two big factors that a lot of research has been done. And the first one being stress. Stress, particularly chronic stress, is something that raises our risk for breast cancer. Whether getting an initial diagnosis or a recurrence of breast cancer, stress increases that risk. If you are fighting the fight of breast cancer, stress is something that makes your fight harder. Your outcomes are worse if you're suffering with chronic stress. So what are ways we can help mitigate that stress? What are things we can put into daily practice that help us to calm down? Stress in and of itself was built into us to help us in the fight or flight situation, right? We either need to, fight the mountain lion or run away from the mountain lion. But in today's world, chronic stress tends to come from over busy schedules, feeling overwhelmed, too much on our plate. All of these different things can bring about stress, whether that's in your job, in relationships, in school, whatever those things might be. So ways we can help reduce our feelings of stress, because what stress does in the body is it releases a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol was meant, again, for fight or flight. So what cortisol does is it releases stored glucose in the cell. Releases that out, causes an insulin spike. And what that insulin spike then will do is it will, because we're not running away or we're not fighting, it circulates the body, there's nothing to do, your muscles aren't needing it, and so what it does then is store as fat. So people who are chronically stressed tend to run fat through the middle. The more we have obesity, or the higher our BMI, the greater our risk for breast cancer. Also, just an elevated cortisol state increases your risk for breast cancer. So the stress and the weight gain that comes with stress, both of those things increase our risk for breast cancer. Elevated cortisol state also lowers your immune system function. That increases our risk for breast cancer. So mitigating stress is incredibly important. What are ways we can do that? So one of the best ways is what we talked about last week, and that is exercise. So when we have that cortisol release, if we take a walk around the block, if we do some jumping jacks, if we do some 10 minutes of lunges in the kitchen while you're cooking, those things, the physicality of expending the energy that the cortisol is going to release by releasing that stored glucose in your cells, then we don't store it around our waist. Then we get rid of that excess cortisol, and our immune system can function properly, and everything can work. So exercise is a great way to release stress. What if I don't have time to exercise? Other things we can do to relieve stress. Have someone to talk to. If you have no one you can share your issues with, it's a bigger burden on you. When you have someone you can talk to, a lot of times, even it's not that they need to solve it, but that you can release that pent-up stress. So talk therapy, whether that's with a friend or with a therapist. If there are things that calm you, so spending time outside, research has been done that spending time outside actually helps reduce cortisol levels. And whether that's due to the light or that you tend to be more physical when you're outside, being outside helps lower cortisol levels. Finding soothing music, finding 15 minutes a day where it's just you time. If you struggle with self-care, stress, you tend not to handle stress as well. So put a priority on self-care. 15 minutes a day, that's it. And during those 15 minutes, I want all of your technology turned off and do whatever it is you want to do. If you enjoy cooking and you're cooking for enjoyment, you can cook during those 15 minutes. But if I'm cooking dinner, that's not necessarily enjoyment. So something that's specifically for you. If you love reading, take your 15 minutes to read, but not about an issue for your child or not about research you're doing for your job, but something that is strictly just for you. 15 minutes of listening to your music, 15 minutes of meditation. 15 minutes of drinking your favorite coffee or tea or kale smoothie or whatever it is you want that's low sugar, and something just to help you calm down. Your 15 minutes could be an Epsom salt soak in the tub, just to calm down. And Epsom salt is the double bonus, has the magnesium, which physically helps your muscles relax. So something to help bring down your cortisol levels. The easiest thing you can do it anywhere, you can do it in line, you can do it while you're stuck in traffic, is 3-4-5 breathing. So super simple to remember. You inhale for a 3 count, you hold it for a 4 count, and you exhale for a 5 count. So the deep breathing, and especially a long exhale, helps with your diaphragm and relaxing and lowering blood pressure. So try 3-4-5 breathing, try your 15 minutes a day of you time, and see if you can't bring your stress levels down. Reducing your stress will not only lower your risk of breast cancer and increase your outcome if you're fighting the fight with breast cancer, but it will help in every area of your life. Physically, mentally, emotionally, all of these different things by reducing your stress level. The other big one that you can do in your life is increasing your sleep quality and the amount of sleep you have. So our goal is 8 hours a day. Bare minimum 6 hours a day, but our goal is 8 hours a day. And then the ability to fall asleep and stay asleep. So why is it that people who have lower sleep quality have a greater risk for breast cancer? But a lot of research has been done with recurrence. You have a much greater recurrence of breast cancer if you don't have a solid 6 to 8 hours of sleep. So sleep is incredibly important. And what can we do to increase our quality of sleep, either the duration or the ability to stay asleep? And a lot of that is back to what you're doing during the day. A great way, helps reduce stress too, but to help you sleep is your circadian rhythm is to get 20 minutes of sunlight, natural sunlight, in the morning, so before noon. That bright light is measured in luxes. You want to get 20,000 luxes a day. This helps with sleeping later in the evening. Morning light is your best choice. So in the morning, take your coffee outside. Sit outside in the sun. Even if it's winter and cold, if it's a sunny day, get outside. It is really hard to get outside in the winter if you have inclement weather, plus it stays darker longer. So when you have moments of sunshine, get your eyeballs outside, and this will help you sleep. Whether you can take a break and walk outside for 5 minutes during work hours, especially if you can do it in the morning, a lot of research has shown morning sunshine helps you sleep at night. And it has to do with your circadian rhythm, your natural waking up and going to sleep. A lot of people say, I don't even need to set my alarm clock. I wake up at the same time every morning. That's part of your circadian rhythm. So try to get your morning sunshine hours. In the evening, try to have it dark. So I hate that it gets dark so early, and we've had just tons of rain here in Austin. So I'm always turning on all my lights, particularly if you have LED lights. That emits a higher frequency of blue light. Blue light, whether it's coming from LED lights in your house, your computer screen, your phone screen, your TVs, all of the blue light excites your brain and makes it harder for you to fall asleep and stay asleep. So by 7 o'clock at night, everyone should look for having blue blockers on at night. And so those are just glasses that block the blue wavelength. In the olden days, blue blockers only used to have the yellow lenses and then kind of look like Bono, and it was kind of weird. But now you can have blue blocker lenses that are clear. You can have them for readers, for the old people, or you can just have them with no prescription at all. And if you work on a computer all day, consider wearing blue blockers. Particularly at night, if you're going to be having a lot of screen time, blue blockers so you can go to sleep. Make your room light-free when you go to bed. All lights gone. Take your phone away so it is not a temptation for you to look at night. A lot of people, when they wake up in the night, first thing you do is look at your phone to see what time it is. get the old-fashioned alarm clock with the little glow-in-the-dark, little number things so that you can see what time it is if that's something you need to have. Do not look at your phone screen. That is not something that will help you fall back to sleep. That's actually something that will excite your brain and you'll have trouble going back to sleep just by looking at your phone screen. So if your room is dark and if your room is cool, your ability to sleep is better. Things that wake us up in the night is we're too warm, there's too much noise, or a sudden noise. So even something that gives you a white noise can help you sleep better, whether that's a fan, something that's constant. So not something that goes up and down. Like, I know a lot of people like the sound of, the evening or crickets, but that's actually something that can wake you up. So look for something that's a solid noise, or if your room is pretty soundproof that you don't hear the noises from outside. So the best sleep room is dark, is quiet, or has a constant white noise, and is cool, so the right temperature. And then other things that can help us fall asleep are setting an alarm clock for a sleep time, not just to wake up in the morning, but to go to bed at night. So I have an alarm on my clock that goes off every night at 10 o'clock, and that reminds me, okay, start making your way upstairs so that I can be asleep and in bed by 11 o'clock. My goal is to be in bed, lights out, by 11 o'clock. And I do that just by setting the alarm. And then that gets me in a rhythm so that I can sleep. And then, if I go to sleep at 11, I'm up by 7, that's 8 hours of sleep. If I have to wake up earlier than that, then I need to go to bed earlier than that. But again, bare minimum 6 hours. Our goal is 8 hours. Other things that can help us go to sleep are, your valerian root tea before you go to bed, sour cherry, 1 ounce of sour cherry juice. That's your highest regular occurring melatonin. There are some natural supplements that you can use, whether that's the melatonin or the R² nighttime formula that has the broccoli and the blood orange and the pomegranate. All of these things can help you fall asleep and stay asleep. Good sleep patterns lower our risk for breast cancer, lower the risk for recurrence. And then while you're sleeping, there's a process that goes on in your body that is basically housekeeping for the cells, and debris and worn out organelles, the little parts within the cell, are actually cleared out. But this only happens if you're sleeping well, and over and on top of that, if you have a fasting window of 12 hours. So when you're sleeping, if you've eaten right before you go to sleep, now your body's working on digesting food rather than doing its detoxification or cellular cleaning while you're sleeping. So if you can get a 12-hour window where you haven't eaten, so if you stop eating at 7 o'clock at night and you sleep till 7 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning, but don't eat again till 7 o'clock in the morning, you have a 12-hour window where you didn't eat, and your body's ability to perform its detoxification process is better. So good sleep, and during your sleep that you have a 12-hour window where you haven't eaten, helps lower our risk for breast cancer. Keeps our cells operating at their best function, keeps our immune system at its best function, lowers our cortisol rates, and lowers our risk for breast cancer. So these are the things we want to do in our lifestyle: help lower our stress, help us get a good night's sleep, and help us lower our risk for breast cancer. Thanks for joining me, and next week we will talk about different ways to detect breast. We've talked about prevention. Next week we're going to talk about early detection and what are all the different tests, and what are some tests maybe you haven't heard of that a skin carotenoid scan can help us look at where our carotenoid level is. There's some blood tests that look at different iron things that we can look at, and then kind of the regular, the mammogram, sonogram, thermogram. What are all those things and what do they look like, and kind of the pros and cons of each. I look forward to seeing you next week, and get good sleep this week and de-stress.